Hey guys, welcome back. So as you will have seen from the title of this video, today we're going through my entire collection of anthuriums, the ones that are growing inside of some sort of greenhouse environment. Anthuriums take up the vast majority of my collection. They're my favorite genus of all time. I can talk nonstop about them. If it actually wasn't for anthuriums, I probably wouldn't even be on YouTube. So I typically don't count my plants. I would guess I have somewhere in the vicinity of like 300 to 400. I have no clue. I've never counted them, but I have counted my anthuriums because me and my friends, we share a spreadsheet. This is for breeding purposes. So if one of us wants to breed one of our plants, we don't have a plant we want to match it up with in our own collection, or if like the timing's not quite right, we can go in that spreadsheet and look at other people's plants and see what we can match up with. So in making that spreadsheet, I was able to figure out how many anthuriums I actually have. And when I first started that spreadsheet, I had like 60 something, and so quickly, I feel like over the course of like 6 months, I now have like about 100. So it's gonna take a long time to get through all these plants, so buckle up. All of the anthuriums growing in a greenhouse environment is located in this room. So I have 3 exos. I have 2 behind me, one little one over there. I have a grow tent, I have a couple of domes, and a bin. So needless to say, I'm going to be taking several breaks throughout this. This video is sponsored by my lovely friends over at Palm Street. I love Palm Street. If you haven't heard of it, it is an app. It is primarily used as a live sale platform. So where a lot of plant companies have started doing live sales on Instagram or Facebook, they've created a platform that has solved a lot of the hiccups in Instagram and Facebook. And there's basically anything that you find clumsy, cumbersome about Instagram live sales, they have solved it. The lag, the payment options, pay in 4. You can refer friends, and when they sign up, you get credits. And when they make a purchase, you get even more credits. And I will be showing you plans later on that was purchased pretty recently through Palm Street. And that was all paid for with credits. The only thing you can't pay for with credits is shipping costs. And they're constantly running promotions. So you'll get like discounts up to a certain dollar amount. They're also in constant development. So they've been launching new features. One new feature I don't know if you guys know about is the purge feature. The purge function is really great for anyone who doesn't have the time to sit through like a 2-hour live sale. They just want to get in, see the product, purchase what they want, and get out. So the purge kind of functions something like a mix of an Instagram story sale and a live sale. So the seller will be posting photo or video. There's still the live chat feed like you would see in a live sale. So people will live commenting on the stuff, and you can just scroll through what is posted and then like buy. But it's like a Facebook purge in a way because the seller is like adding to it as you go. So once a purge starts, like the products start to be added, but it doesn't take quite as long as the Instagram live sale. So it's good for sellers who don't want to show their face. And they've grown so much over the last year, but I think the thing I really appreciate about their growth is that they focus a lot of their growth on getting anthurium sellers on the platform. So it's been really engaging for me to be on the platform and just watch these live sales. They've gotten some amazing sellers on here. The Canada launch hasn't happened yet, but it is still slated for later this year. And once that happens, I'm 100% moving over to that platform. Until the Canada launch happens though, I will be going live every now and then. I can't sell from Canada yet, so I will be doing like repot with me, kind of plant tour kind of thing, just hangouts, which essentially is what a lot of people go to the live sales for, just to hang out and talk to each other. If you haven't joined Palm Street yet, I will leave my referral link in the description. Right now, new users will get $10 site credit, a 10% coupon, and free shipping for 3 orders. Big thank you to Palm Street for sponsoring this video. And with that said, let us get started. Before I show you any plants, I'm just going to get a few things out of the way because it's going to get really repetitive if I keep talking about it. So all of my anthuriums rely 100% on grow lights, with the exception of like 1, maybe in this room, 2. There's 2 plants I can see. They're in ambient conditions, so you're not going to even see it today. So I always link my favorite grow lights in the description. They're always there because I rely on them so heavily. But the ones lighting my tent and my exos is either 99% of them are Barina T5s. They're linked in the description. And my one small exo over there is lit by a mother plant spectrum. I'll also be saying tree fern soil a lot in this video, but that's my favorite substrate for anthuriums, or just actually all plants in my house. I also grow some plants here and there in pond, but it's not like straight lechuza pond. So I use lechuza pond, and then I add fine or classic grade orchiata to it, and I add perlite. And that's like my preferred pon mix. So when I say pon for my plants, I never mean straight 100% lechuza pon. I find it too fine and too heavy, and I guess too costly to use it straight. So I much prefer having a little bit of organic media in there, and I like the lightness that perlite adds. Feed wise, this is the fertilizer I use. This is TPS1. We got put on this by Amanda, our dear friend Amanda, or Bunny on Instagram. I'll link her in the description. I'm sure you guys already know her. She grows anthuriums like a mother effer. When I first got on this, I made a decision to only use this for at least a year just to see what the difference would be. And then since then, I just never found a desire to go back to anything else. There are other really great fertilizers that are really approachable, really accessible. Like another all-in-one fertilizer is the Dynagrow, or it's now called, oh my gosh, what is it called? I have like a throbbing headache right now and I can't think of what it is. Foliage Pro Super Thrive. Super Thrive acquired Dynagrow, so it's called Super Thrive Foliage Pro now, but it's the same formula as far as I'm aware. That one I found also really great, but what I really love about TPS1, first of all, it's an all-in-one, which I don't like to do this whole like mixing in certain orders and like just I don't want to get into that part. It's just like not me. So I like that you can just use this. It has some calcium magnesium in it, but I also supplement with CalMag. This one right here, but I primarily use this. I really like how it's really hard to burn your anthuriums with it. Something about this also seems to cause anthuriums to flower a whole bunch. My anthuriums are just flowering left, right, and center. And the last thing I love about it is that there is beneficial bacteria in it. So this to me is the perfect for my purposes. So this is my favorite fertilizer. And the last thing all of my anthuriums get is great white. So if you haven't heard of great white by now, it's mycorrhizal fungi, beneficial bacteria, a beneficial mold called trichoderma. I could not do this hobby without great white. It is so good. It just makes my anthuriums so much stronger. It battles root rot. It makes them just grow a lot faster. I feel like I'm getting the actual fertilizer, like I'm getting the best value out of my fertilizer because what I'm feeding it is actually making sure that it's getting to the plant. It has made my plant journey go from here to here so quickly. The root growth that you see after great white, the roots are so much stronger. Root rot doesn't really become as much of an issue. The plants grow quicker, they're more pest resistant, they're more drought resistant. It's also like a little safety net for me because if I don't fertilize or if I underwater or something, like the fungi is there as like a little support system. So I think I'm going to start with my tent. This is my favorite part in my whole house when it comes to plants. This is my happy place. Tent growing is definitely not for everybody. It can be a real eyesore on the outside, but on the inside, it's just a magical wonderland, and it just grows plants so well. It reflects light, it reflects warmth, it just keeps everything nice and humid. This is going to be in no particular order. I'm literally going off the top row and I'm just going to make my way down. So the first one I want to show you is one of my favorites in my whole entire collection. Before I show you this, I'm going to have to just make a quick shout out to Amanda, because if it wasn't for her, like, she skyrocketed my anthurium collection. She has been so incredibly generous in sharing her collection with me, and she has an amazing collection. So this little guy is care of Amanda. This is my Carla Bevep. So this one is not her hybrid. This one was bred by Juan and Grant. So Juan is Gay Plant Hoe and Grant is Granthurium. So this is Juan's Carla crossed with Grant's Bevep or Antilacii. I got this like over a year ago and I've had my ups and downs with it. I think it's finally happy now. It's gone through a few repots. I've chopped it once. I used to struggle a lot with trying to get nice and dark blackish leaves. I was getting a lot of, look at how bright green this is. This is highlight. This is lower light. This is also lower light. It's not even that low of light because I have 7 Barena bars in my tent. So nothing really gets low light in there, which has resulted in some light burn. You will see later. But this one finally is looking a lot happier. It's been flowering pretty steadily with every leaf. This is the 3rd flower and it's still quite small. I think it's strong enough to support berry formation. I would really like to cross this with my Carla, my Woo 1 Carla, which you're going to see later. But I always say that this batch of Carla Beveps is like the nicest I've ever seen. I feel like it just took on the best traits of both of the parents, the color, the venation. So I have talked in the past about how light manipulates anthuriums to be darker or lighter, and that it's not always low light. Sometimes with higher light, they get more black. It's almost kind of like a sun stress. That's how I think about it anyways. I don't know if technically that's the case, but some anthuriums with much brighter, much stronger lights will go really black. This is not one of them. This one needs lower light to get dark. So the classic way. So as with the majority of plants you're going to see today, this is potted in a clear orchid pot, tree fern soil, like at the bottom. This is so I can keep a little reservoir here. It's almost like a self-watering system. This has been working for me based on my watering habits. So I'm kind of more of an underwaterer. But this year with my schedule and stuff, I've been a little bit more on top of watering, but I don't really love watering. So I don't really use large amendments in there. Like my bark isn't that big. My perlites, the perlite is really big, but I don't really use the asteroid perlite. Overall, it's designed to be water retentive enough, but still have enough aeration. And I give myself the option of keeping a reservoir. In case I need to go away for a week, I can keep a reservoir on the plants. And I've also found that when the roots escape, they die. When the roots go into the leca dries faster than the soil, so they will also like dry up. So I just like, that's just something I like to do. I don't think it's a make or break, but that is the potting setup you're going to see like over and over again. My other Carla Vivet, this one's almost ready for repot. I only repotted it, it felt like not that long ago. I want to say it was like 6 weeks ago. I might be wrong, but it has pretty much filled out the pot. It's ready for the bigger pot now. This one was from Woohoo Tropicals, and this leaf was the best leaf it's ever grown. The other ones are definitely really pretty, but something about this leaf, just the color is just like a little bit more elevated, the veins. This one actually was grown facing the wall. I just turned it around, but there's like, it's like a very charcoal toned, kind of gray toned. It's so, so pretty. It also has that BVEP thing where the sinus kind of starts to protrude and then it folds the lobes back somewhat. And I always notice this in BVEP and BVEP hybrids where the sinus almost looks like a Play-Doh splat, like mud splatter. I don't think Woohoo has many of these left, if any, to sell, but I really hope they do this hybrid again because they have lots of breeding Carlas, I think, so they can do lots of beautiful Carla hybrids. I've literally never seen a Carla hybrid that's not absolutely stunning. Speaking of Woohoo, this one I got from Charmaine, who got it from Amanda, who obviously got it from Woohoo Tropicals. This is Woohoo's First Night. So Woohoo's First Night is a Pap hybrid crossed with Ace of Spades. This one got a little bit bleached. You can really see the lightning here. It was a little bit close to one of my grow lights that I have like vertical and is pointing inwards to the grow tent. So I've just like kind of pushed it backwards a little bit. But this one has been growing so much better ever since I moved it out of a coir based tree fern soil to my tree fern soil, which has no cocoa in it. So after moving out of cocoa coir, it's been like rooting a lot better. I'm trying to, yeah, here. A lot more roots. It's been growing really steadily and it's been sizing up with each leaf. So it's just been so much happier being in a cocoa-less substrate. I think there's quite a lot of variability within the Woohoo's First Nights. So Amanda's really has like a very nice spidery, super ultra fine veins. This is like not the best specimen because it's kind of light bleached, but imagine this leaf was darker and those veins when they first emerge are like kind of pink. So it's like very thin pink veins. I'll see if I can find a photo of Amanda's and put it right here because it's so pretty. And this would have been like a clone of that one. So I'm really excited for this one to get big. I'm going to show you right now Amanda's hybrid using this plant. So this one is Amanda's, she calls Gerald Bess Woohoo's First Night. Gerald is a Pap hybrid that she has. I'll see if I can find a photo, but if I can't, there's gonna be no photo. I think she just got tired of describing it every time, so she just named it Gerald. So she made a hybrid of Gerald with Bessier Ave, and then with that plant, she crossed it with Woohoo's First Night. So Woohoo's First Night was the Poland parent, and it looks so much like this leaf was growing like this, and then it just flopped over. But if I show it to you like this, can you see the veins? It's very, very thin. It's kind of pinky. Oh no, I think I'm gonna have to rotate this plant around so it's gonna do something like this. But this specimen that she sent us really took after the Woohoo's First Night in my opinion. And it has those pinky veins. It definitely looks pink in person, but I can't tell if it looks pink in the viewfinder. And then on the back, it's like super pink as well. This one is my HU or King of Spades crossed with Red Crystallinum. It's so cute, but it's so mini and it just refuses to size up. It seems healthy to me. It just like doesn't It doesn't want to size up, but it's such a cute, cute little plant. I hope it starts to get more red as time goes on, but right now it doesn't. It has like a really nice kind of bronzy red emergent leaf, but it's not like super bright red, and it doesn't really have any red veins, but I love how round it is. I love how silver it is, and I love how dark the leaves hardened off to. I just think that when King of Spades and Red Crystal come together, they just make beautiful babies. I have 4. They all look so different. You're gonna see 3 out of the 4 today, but I love this one for how round it is. It looks a lot like the Dorayaki red crystallinums, but with like less thickness in the veins. I mean, I guess I might as well show you all of them at once. I'm skipping around now. Oh no. This one is from my friend Dania. I will link her in the description. This one is her hybrid. So the King of Spades is one that she got from Lauren, but it would have been the same source that I got my King of Spades from. He is just right there. One of my favorite plants of all time. So that crossed with a Tazula red crystallinum. And mine has been so interesting. I'm so excited for this one to get big because like the veins are so thin. So one thing I really love about King of Spades, and I'm pretty sure everybody does, is that it has really spidery, wispy, thin veins. Some of them can mutate to have a lot of like bleeding silver, but the very round, like circular, they make this like circular webby pattern. So it appears that it has taken on more of that versus the really thick bold veins of red crystallinum. And this one has super round leaves. Like every leaf is just like this little round little puff ball and super, super bumpy. Even at such a young age, it's showing so much texture. And with this new leaf, more silver is coming through. It's still staying really, really thin. And the bumpiness, oh, it's so cute. I'm so grateful to have a little piece of Dania here. And this one, I recently showed in a video last week, in fact, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. But this is my latest HE Red Crystal. I chopped these on camera and this one ended up in my tent because this one it didn't seem like limp, but the leaves are a little bit thinner. So I was just worried that it was gonna crash after being cut. So I just threw this one in the tent. The other one is sitting right here. So I'm just like rooting it out here. It seemed a little bit perkier. This plant hasn't really thrown much of a fit since being chopped, but I'm just not taking my chances. I'm keeping it in my tent. I love the bleeding veins on this. It doesn't have the red that I'm looking for, but it's so beautiful regardless. I've noticed something with Indonesian anthuriums. I'm trying to think if it's the same with Ecuador. I can't definitively say, but a lot of the times when I import anthuriums from Indonesia, they'll come in with like very, very soft, pliable leaves. But over time in my care, they get thicker, more leathery, and also a little bit darker. So my guess is that when it comes from like a very high humidity environment, tropical environment, it doesn't need to hold on to as much moisture. It gets way more light over there than it does in my artificial setup. So that kind of like works in my favor because I really love thick textures. I really love dark. So right now it's really, really thin. I super hope that over time it will start to grow thicker leaves, a little bit more sturdy. Because in my mind, King of Spades has nice when I say leathery, I mean like in that velvety way. Leathery leaves, and red crystallinum should as well. So I'm hoping it will thicken up over time. Not these existing leaves, but the leaves that grow after this. Here's another one from Amanda. This one is Novelty G Ace of Spades. It's an anthurium from Novelty G Nursery that they were selling as Ace of Spades, but it's not Ace of Spades. It's really, really beautiful. Look at that emergent leaf. It's very dark and it has like, you know, those like blood vessel looking stuff that runs through it. It's very smooth otherwise, very, very minimal veins. Definitely does not have the red sinus and the overall shape of Ace of Spades, but I love it. This is another plant that was growing in a cocoa mix, so a cocoa coir mixed with husk and other like bark, perlite, stuff like that, but a soilless aroid mix. And it was just not having a good time. I thought the plant itself was a finicky one. So leaves were just yellowing off. When I unpotted it, the roots were totally like fried. It was never taking up water. So I moved it to my mix, which has no cocoa in it, and it has been growing very steadily. It's been holding on to leaves. The roots are very healthy. It's ready for an upsize actually. So this is kind of like my reverse experiment. When I have plants that are in cocoa that are struggling, getting them out of cocoa and seeing if it grows better. And so far, without exception, all of them are growing way better now that they're in a cocoa-less mix. This one is a beautiful pendant anthurium from my friend Owen. This one is the Anthurium SP Nova Costa Rica. To my knowledge, it has not been formally described, but this one originally came from Rory, and I got this from Owen in a trade. This new leaf grew in my care, and it's so pretty. I just love the leaf shape of this. It's so tapered. It has like a really long taper, and it looks so elegant. And I believe with maturity over time, the emergent leaves start to develop more of like, it's more colorful, has like a more of a multicolor shift. At least that's what it looks like in photos. This one's in tree fern soil. It has been rooting pretty well in this. This one probably will live in this for the next foreseeable future, like 3 to 4 months, because the roots on this are very fine right now at this like very young age. But yeah, when it came to me, it was like this. And I'm very happy to see the leaf upsize, and I can't wait for it to get much longer and start to trail downwards. This one really desperately needs a repot. This one is a seed-grown plant from Amanda. This is Anthurium obtusum narrow-form. So Amanda, I think, selfed her plant, and it was growing really well for a time. And then I moved it into lower light thinking that it would be fine with it, and it really wasn't fine with it. It started reaching, the petioles got super long. So I moved it back into higher light. It's been growing a lot better. This is the newest leaf. It is still expanding, but it's a very glossy one. The leaves have this like swell in the middle, so it's kind of like a kayak kind of. I had 2 of them at one point, but one of them died, so this is the only one I have left. I will get it into a bigger pot. I'm gonna get it into the next size square pot and just find a place for it, because all these roots need to go somewhere. They're just flying around the air right now. This is a plant I got from my dear friend Jesse. This was seed grown, so he purchased it as a seed from Cartel Down. This is Bigfoot Self. I'm gonna put Bigfoot here. So this is the mother plant, and it was selfed, and I think this one looks so much like Bigfoot. And this was actually like on a wish list of mine. I made like an Indonesian Anthurium kind of wish list type of video, and he just so kindly gave this to me. And I think it's so beautiful because it's so dark and it has quite nice red veins, but it's very subtle. But this is like a hardened leaf. This is fully hardened. This is the newest leaf. You can see red in there as well. It has a nice red sinus, and the veins are so contrasty. This one probably could use a bigger pot, to be honest. I repotted it fairly recently. It was in like a tree fern soil mix, but had cocoa husk in it. Another previous leaf I had was getting little spots, which I've seen in Charmaine's plants. Like she gets these little spots, and she only got it on plants that she was growing in cocoa. So I figured the cocoa husk might have been the culprit for this. I have no idea. I don't know what Jesse's mix is. So I got it out of cocoa, and the spots have not continued, and it's been sizing up. It's getting so much prettier with every leaf. It looks so black on camera. It's weird. Sometimes when I show really dark plants, the camera blows out and freaks out, but with this one, it's showing the color really well. I'm so sad right now. I was bringing a plant out, and I broke my Dark Phoenix inflow. The only one that's on the plant right now. I had full intentions of pollinating that thing. That's great. Oh, well, the culprit is this plant. Well, the culprit is me. But this plant knocked the inflow. It broke. Here, let me show you. Here it is. I did not even feel any resistance. It just broke. It must be crisp like asparagus. Dead. So this plant is Anthurium diabloense. It's like really hot in here. I got really hot and bothered by that. This plant is from Amanda once again. She sent this to us last year. So it's growing up against the wall. The wall's like this. The light's here, so all the leaves are kind of facing that way. And I think it is kind of too much light for it, because some leaves were starting to get super pale like that. It's a little bit bleachy. This is the second newest leaf. It's such a fun plant. This is the newest leaf. It's still expanding. Look at how tall the lobes are getting with each leaf. It's so exciting. And it also has like a really beautiful like rubbery silvery blue tone. This one's also flowered. It's producing pollen right now. I have no clue what to do with it. Probably nothing. I don't think that it's compatible with anything that I have that's flowering. I mean, maybe I could collect the pollen and self it. It would be really cool if it's one of those plants that readily self itself, like Clarinervium or Vitarfolium. It would be just wonderful if this one would just spontaneously produce berries, because this thing is really hard to propagate because the internodes are like the tightest basically of like any Anthurium I own. They're just like, there's no space in between those nodes. But yeah, I really wasn't expecting this one to be flowering so soon. The inflow kind of reminds me of a Clarinervium inflow. Just thought that was interesting. This one is one that won't be here much longer. This is one of the tofu Gettyeyes from me and Jing's first batch. So tofu you're going to see later is a no ID Indonesian Anthurium. We don't know what it's called. Jing was acclimating it and growing it for a while inside of like a soft tofu container. It's basically like a large yogurt container size. So just to make things simple, we called her Tofu. And then Tofu I bred with my dark form for Gettyeye. I don't know if you can see this guy right here. And together they made really weird looking babies. This one I'm ready to let go of. I'm going to keep the one I really, really like that you're going to see next week. And then the little runt that is not, it should not be sold because it's the total runt. But I'm holding on to it because I really want it to get big because it's very interesting, super triangular, spear shaped. I mean, I may as well show it to you now. This one's living inside that humidity dome, but do you know what I mean? It's very interesting looking. This one is teeny tiny and it's so old to be this size. I'm hoping that I can get it to, like, maybe it just wasn't happy before and now it will start to size up. Who knows? I kind of doubt it though, but it has like a very like feathery venation on top of being like a sharp spear. Okay, so these next three I got off Palm Street. They were from Woohoo Tropicals. These three are all red crystallinums from different mother plants. This is the biggest of the three. This one is Woo 5 crossed with, nope, this one is Woo 5, wait, yep, Woo 5 Self. And I just love those little overlapping short little lobes. I love how super bumpy it is. It does have red in the veins, and I hope it increases over time with maturity, that I'll get more colorful. But at least for now, it has the best texture, really nice bold veins, exactly what I was looking for. This one is Woo 5 crossed with Woo 8. A little bit more red. I love how this one looks like an egg. Let me just, does that not look like an Easter egg? Someone should make Easter eggs that look like red crystallinums. You can see that the tip of the leaf is fully formed. It's just like really, really oval. And this one also has really super bold veins. There is red running down the midrib. Hopefully, again, it increases over time. It's already pushing its next leaf there. The last one I'm so excited for, although I'm almost sure my camera is not going to be able to show it well. This one they're calling unknown red crystallinum self because they can't recall which red crystallinum they selfed. But moment of truth, is it going to show up? Oh, it's kind of showing up. This one is the reddest of all of them. And this one had an emergent leaf when I last showed these plants, but this one wasn't out enough yet to show the colors. I don't think it's showing that well, but in person, the silver is pink. Barbie sparkling pink. I was talking to Paulina and she was saying that these ones are showing, like, they have a line of super red crystallinums they call, and this one looks like those super red crystallinums. So I'm super excited because it's so small to be showing so much color. Okay, really quick, I'm gonna show you the last one from Woo Tropicals, then we're gonna have to take a break because I can see that my camera is starting to overheat. This one, I have been obsessing over this new leaf. It's so pretty. So this one is Ace of Spades crossed with Eastern Dresslerite. This leaf was not out yet when I last showed the plants. Look how beautiful it is. I love how it looks like one of those fresh olives. It has really thin red veins. It's so puffy. It's gorgeous. And you can see in the older leaves, as it hardens, it will get dark and the leaves pretty much completely disappear. It's just such a good cross. I think pretty much all the seedlings that I've seen from this batch, they just look like this. It's a very nice mix of genes. There's not a ton of variability. I don't know that they have tons left. I think this is like, this when I got it was one of the last of the batch, but they might have a few left. You can kind of expect this, I think. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I'm so excited for this one to get bigger. I just think it's gonna be stunning. I love their Eastern Dresslerite. It's so round and so squishy. I just want to eat it. And I think it did take on a lot of the Eastern dress compared to the Ace of Spades. I think this one is like quickly becoming one of my favorite plants. Okay, quick break time. I'm gonna drink some water, let my camera cool down. Be right back. I'm back and my headache is worse. Here's a little propagation. This is not a pallidiflorum. This is an Anthurium Rocquenum esmeralda. So I used to have this plant. I missed it dearly. It was imported from Tropicals. This one probably was as well. But my original one, it looked kind of like this when I first imported it, and then I grew it really big. I was gonna get it on a pole, and then killer pond happened. So I made this batch of pond, and I had this container of Osmocote slow release fertilizer pellets, and then I just like, let's add some, right? So I just like was liberally sprinkling it on. Everything that went into that pond just died. That plant never stood a chance. And so Charmaine gave me a little replacement. She got this plant and she cut me a cutting, and this one has been growing. It took a long time to wake up, but once it's woken up, it's been growing pretty steadily. It doesn't get tons of light. Like it has shade from other plants, so it doesn't really know where to face, but it's starting to size up. And this is one of those anthuriums that you could probably grow on a moss pole, similar to a Warocqueanum. Once it gets bigger, the internodes start to stretch out quite a lot more. So I feel like once these roots start to like extend into the substrate, I'll probably just snip it off and grow it independently and be able to bury it a little bit deeper in substrate, and I'll be able to get a little pole behind it. But it doesn't really look like this. Like over time, the ears will start to get bigger. It has the shape kind of like a Warocqueanum, but without the veins, like without the bright silvery veins. And it's a lot easier than a queen. In my opinion, it's way more easygoing. It's easier to grow in low humidity. Although in saying that, I grow my queens in pretty low humidity. But when it comes to importing, this one definitely has a better survival rate. I can't even tell you how many queens I've killed post-import. I feel like if I imported one now, knowing what I know, the supplies that I have, I might be able to do better, but it's not really like necessary. There's probably no shortage of Warocqueanums you can get locally or domestically. So if you like Warocqueanum but you have a bad track record with it, this one's probably a good one to start with. This one's a little seedling that I got from my friend Anna for Christmas. That's what it looks like. It's very cute. I don't know what it's gonna look like. It's Anthurium Blue Velvet crossed with Dark Crystallinum. So Blue Velvet is, I think, a mag hybrid from Berry. This one was just a little seed at Christmas time, so it's not a bad size, not the best size, but I think it's going to be really cute. It has a pretty steady growth rate. It's got nice thin veins, but very sparkly. Here's another Coco Coir rescue. This one is Pap Wonder Boy. I've had this cutting from Charmaine. This was originally from Amanda. I've had it for almost a year now, and it would not grow, and it was growing tiny little seedling sized leaves that are really pale, borderline yellow, but you know, the green was so pale it was almost yellow, and it was growing really slowly. I think those leaves have either all died, or maybe this is one of them, possibly. And then I got it out of coir into tree fern mix that has no coir in it, and it's been growing so much steadier. It has 2 growth points now. So this is the top leaf on one of the growth points. This is the top leaf on another growth point, and it's just popped a new leaf. It's been doing so much better now. I don't actually know what this plant looks like because I can't recall what Charmaine's mother plant looks like, so I'm gonna grow it out a little bit longer, but this one's been doing so much better. This plant is covered in pollen. This is Anthurium debile. I quite like this plant, but you know, it's kind of a pain in the ass. If you ever tried to grow this plant, I need to get it into a bigger pot, but I don't have space for a bigger pot for it. My trick for this plant has been, because this is kind of a notoriously finicky plant, it's really hard to get it to not crisp. It doesn't do well in ambient conditions. This is the kind of thing you always grow it in a greenhouse. My trick has been to keep it in a denser mix and just keep it like mud. Like there's always, not always, but I have a leca layer here, and I just keep a reservoir in here so that this substrate can just be super, super saturated with water. One time, you'll see these 2 leaves that I cut off, I completely forgot, and it actually dried out. So this doesn't even do well when the substrate dries out to like a normal level of moisture. It likes to be in mud. So I let it actually dry out so much that it was like a light pot. The leaves turned into like a jumbled up crispy mess. So I cut those leaves off. This is a leaf that formed after. It hasn't crisped yet, although it is kind of starting here at the tip. My specimen I got from, well, this originally came from Tropicals, I think, but I got it from Jing. Jing used to do these like drive-by surprise plant drop-offs. She would just like text me like, oh, I just dropped off a plant at your door. So I'll just go outside. There's like a chonk waiting there. She hasn't done that in a while. I kind of miss it, but this is one of those ones. She's dropped it off as a chonk, and I've been growing it for a few years. I think it was in moss for a little while, and I read in a Facebook post. Someone was like, how do you grow this plant? It's like so finicky. And someone was like, I water it every 2 days. No joke. Just like water it all the time and it'll do okay. I think it also does better in a denser mix. I've never tried to grow it in pond. I've never tried to grow it in like a chunky soil mix. I think it was either moss and then to this, or maybe it was moss, then to soil, then to like a really dense tree fern soil that has a lot more of the soil component versus the tree fern. But when I repotted it, I repotted it out of mud into mud basically. And I was like, with any other Anthurium, it probably would have been like just rotted roots everywhere. But this plant just likes to sit in water, just gross, dirty, muddy water. And I think because I don't have the space for it, but ideally I would get it into like a taller vessel. It doesn't necessarily have to be wider, but just taller to enclose these. Maybe I'll just make a collar for it. I don't know. But if you have one and you can't make it happy, just water it all the time. When in doubt, just water it. It doesn't even matter if it's sitting in water. Right now, if you can see this substrate, it's pretty muddy. It probably could use the water, but it's pretty heavy as well. But you know, just for good measure, I'm gonna water it right now. Basically just gonna water it until I feel like the reservoir layer is full. So it's kind of got water here right now. You can't really see it that well because there's so much algae on here, but pretty cute one. It's never flowered for me, but I think it would be an interesting one to cross with, although I don't know that it's very compatible. I haven't really looked into it, what section it's in. It kind of looks like it attempted to flower out of this petiole, but that leaf died off. So maybe out of this one, I just pull the sheath back. Maybe it'll produce a flower out of this leaf. Who knows? Look at this beauty. This one is another cartel plant. This one is Dark Phoenix crossed with Ralph and Fort Sherman. Look at how that new leaf hardened off. It's so pointy. I actually am so surprised that I chopped it twice and then it came back with an upsize. I've recently just moved it into lower light just to kind of prevent this happening because it was getting burned. So the downside is that they're not kind of all facing one way anymore. It was really nicely like just all laid out in like a very neat row. Now it's getting a little bit messier, but the nice thing is not getting bleached anymore. I think this one that they sent me has a really nice mix of Dark Phoenix and Ralph and Fort Sherman. It has the pillowiness, it has the venation, it has the purplish reddish backs. It definitely has the lobes of a Dark Phoenix, the texture, but overall it doesn't look quite like a Dark Phoenix. It does show quite papillolamina-y, but with like a Dark Phoenix skin. But I'll show you my other one that I got from them, the most recent one. It doesn't look anything like this. This is the most recent one. I don't know what these little spots are. It hardened off with little spots. I don't know if it was like from coming out of a 100% humidity dome into my tent, but this one has a different shape. The older leaves are a little bit wider in the sinus. This one was pretty triangular. It did crisp a little bit coming out of the humidity dome. And then this one has a wide sinus as well, but just a little bit sharper, really pointy little ears. I have a feeling this one is gonna look more Ralph and Fort Sherman than the other one. That one, I did say it's like a good mix, but I do think it leans a little bit more to Dark Phoenix. This one, a little bit more pap, I think. This one also has a really thin leaves, but if I feel this one that grew in my care a little bit thicker, it's also darker than the import leaves. I won't spend too much time on this because I show this plant all the time, but this is my contaminated Carla or NSC Carla. This is how that leaf hardened off. It's so round and so puffy. This little offset has fully hardened. It has not produced roots yet, which is unfortunate, but it's on caterpillars. And I noticed another growth point right here, but it's doing that thing that this one did. So this growth point, it was growing out of a little growth point on the side. It would activate and then crisp off and then activate and then crisp off. So this one, hopefully you can see it. It's right where my finger is crisp right now. But I have a feeling another growth point is going to emerge from it and it might crisp off one or two more times and it might turn into another plant. But I'm still waiting for this to grow its own root system, and then I got to chop it right off and then I get the whole thing into a bigger pot because this is full. By the way, as a side note, so I talk a lot about just constantly upsizing your pots in order to get your anthuriums to keep sizing up. And it's like pretty dramatic when you can get it into kind of an obscenely large pot. So imagine if this went into like a 12-inch pot, like something really huge. I didn't intend for this term to catch on, but I was calling it boat mode. And that's specifically like getting it into a really big pot, just so big that it feels wrong. I called it boat mode a couple of times. Just know that it was not my intention for it to become a term. I was doing it because my friend Jesse would get like tiny little plants into like buckets. He would get a plant from me, it'd be in a cup, and he'd put it in, you know those like Home Depot buckets? Basically that size. Not exactly that size, but imagine something going from a regular plant pot into a bucket. That's what he was doing. He was getting plants growing into flowering size in such short amount of time. So I guess boat mode is a term that it just came out of my mouth, but the concept is not mine. And so I don't want anyone being like, oh, Alice is boat mode. Like it's not, that's not, that was not the intention. But if you are trying to grow anthuriums as big as possible in as little time as possible, I will tell you my formula would be, in general, tree fern soil, feed with every watering, and every time that pot starts to fill out with roots, just immediately pot it up. You don't have to go boat mode and get it into like a aggressively large pot. It can just be the next size up, but I think the frequency makes a huge difference. And also never let those plants fully dry out. I also won't spend too much time on it because I've been talking about this plant a lot lately, but this is Fort Sherman Ralph Linum. This was bred by Grant or Granthuriums, and I got it from my friend Jose, and I co-own this with Charmaine. I recently removed a little offset. It was still the prettiest offset. I'll put a photo here. I had two props of this. I had one cutting that had no leaf when I cut it off. It now has a couple of leaves. And then I had this thing, which was so beautiful. And originally Charmaine was like, oh, just sell it. Like we need to, make back our costs for this plant. But I think it was too pretty. And she was like, no, I'm just going to take it. So for anyone who's looking to buy that plant, Charmaine now has it, which I'm glad for because I have the mother plant. So I want her to have something. It's definitely got a good foundation because it's already in caterpillars. It's gonna size up quickly, and it's gonna be close to this size in not a long time, I think. So this one has been, I didn't even unpot it when I removed that offset, so this one has been doing fine. The roots that were growing out of the stem have not reached the substrate yet. There's gonna be a new leaf soon, and also another offset is activating here. This one is just such a pretty papillamnum. I'm so glad that we got this because the color is amazing. It's so blue. The lobes are super, super pointy and the texture is so matte. It looks like nothing else that I own. And I'm just very grateful that we were able to get it from Jose and that he, of course, got a really nice specimen. This one is kind of like tucked into the back of that shelf because it was getting really burned with grow lights. But this one is Red Crystal crossed with Luxuriance from Woohoo Tropicals. We got this last year. I feel like it's probably gonna flower soon. I just have a feeling. It's on caterpillars now. And this thing roots like no tomorrow. Like every time I repot it, it just roots so aggressively. And eventually, I'm gonna have to clear some space out here and grow it out here because it's just gonna need to be in such a large pot. And if you've ever grown Lux hybrids, they just really have no issues growing in ambient conditions. I'm waiting for this one to kind of figure out what it wants to look like. When I first got it, the leaves were where's that leaf here? They were more narrow and it had such beautiful like oily purpley emergent leaves, but the newer leaves, this one, I think, was it this one? No, maybe it was this one. This one had like this crazy orange. It looked to me like non-bread because these little blisters were looking super dark. So it looked like black blisters you get on like wood fire oven bread. And then this one I think was quite orange as well. And then this one, a lot more pink was showing up in the veins. So I can't even really describe the characteristics of this plant. Every leaf is just so different. Okay, this is a plant I haven't shown in a while. It's one of my favorites. This one is not an easy one. I think this is one of the most difficult to keep looking nice anthuriums that I have. This is Ace of Spades green form. It doesn't prop very well. It doesn't repot very well. And every leaf eventually will do this. It just starts yellowing, getting orange at the margins. It will spread like this. I haven't really figured it out with this plant. There's also an escape root that rotted. There must be some root rot in here because I really don't ever have to water this. not ever. I think I water it like every 2 weeks, whereas with a lot of my anthuriums, it's like every 5 to 7 days. But I do see at the same time a lot of healthy roots in here. There's a lot of algae everywhere else, but I think this one probably most likely has a small amount of root rot in here, living amongst other these that looks so creepy. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's probably like a mixture of root rot and like actively growing roots, which usually I just don't even do anything about it unless the plant's declining. Yeah, maybe I would have to repot it and clean it up a little bit. Not sure. But this plant has beautiful emergent leaves. They're like hot, hot pinkish red. But in my experience, not the easiest plant. I have another plant I'm going to show you that does kind of the same thing, where the leaves, for me at least, have kind of a short shelf life. So it looks nice for a couple of weeks, and then slowly like the yellow orangey margins start to set in and it just kind of looks blemished, and then the next leaf comes out perfect. So the plant can be like growing really steadily and seemingly healthy in the growth rate, but the leaves never stay. This one I haven't shown in a really long time too, but it's been doing a lot better. This is Anthurium papillamnum RA5 crossed with Swamp Bunny. So this is another Amanda plant. I believe this one was a collaboration between her and Paul, Understory Oasis. So this one is growing in pond. I had the worst luck with this plant and root rot. The roots just didn't want to stay. It will root out a bunch and then all rot off. And I said I was going to repot it, and I just never did. And it started to grow better. And I was just like, okay, we'll just keep watering, keep doing everything the same. And then this leaf was the latest leaf to grow out. This leaf grew into another plant, so it's a little bit creased here. I just moved it yesterday, so it had room to expand nicely. I think this is kind of permanent though. It's always going to have a little bit of a bend there. But yeah, this one is growing in pond. It's one of the few that are growing in pond in really gross, dirty water. I rarely have to water this, probably every 3 weeks. But I'm so glad I didn't chop it again, because it's finally getting those lobes and the bumpy texture. Look at that texture. Oh, it's so nice. Because previous leaves were a lot smoother, right? Like this one, quite smooth. The second newest leaf got a little bit bumpier, and this new leaf is just wonderful. I love these little cheeks that it has. Technically, it's full enough of roots to go into the next bigger size pot, but I'm gonna see what it does. I'm just gonna leave it for another month or so. But when I got this one, there was 2 papillamnums in that one. So there's this in the RA5 self, and this one is way smaller. And I think it's because, no, I cut both of them. So I think this one's because it kept getting root rot, getting repot, reroot again. You know, it just kind of set this plant back a lot. The RA5 self is one of those plants that I cannot move, so I'm gonna have to show it to you closer to the end. This is another plant I've recently-ish showed. This one kind of needs water. This one is an unknown ID. Don't know what it is. So this one I got from my friend Jose. He just gave me a little stick with active growth points on it. He's like, it's a papillamnum something. I can't tell what it is. Honestly, I have a feeling it's a hybrid, but I'm not too sure. I repotted it somewhat recently and it's really filled out the pot. Really loves the substrate, and it pushed out this leaf. So this was an offset. So the stump that he gave me had this growth point. This grew into a plant, and then I chopped off that growth point when it had some roots, and I repotted it to its own cup. The original stem has one more growth point on it. It's just in my prop box. But this one really did not skip a beat after being removed from the mother stem. But it has a very cool sinus. It's like it's like cut out. Whatever it is, it's a pretty easygoing one. This one is another one I haven't showed in a long time because it's been not doing the best. This one is Spider Ralphman, or Spider Bessier Af crossed with Ralphalinum Fort Sherman. I think it's on the upward swing now. So I recently, maybe not even that recently, I chopped all the leaves off because like it had pests at one point. It had some residual pest damage, and it had some like leaves that grew out and just like was crisping. It just wasn't looking very good. I think it had a bit of root rot. Maybe the root rot fixed itself. I didn't repot it. But for a long time, all the leaves were coming out a little bit damaged, pretty much always at the tip. It wasn't really sizing up. For how long I've had this plant, it should be way bigger than it actually is. This newest leaf is probably the best forming one I've had in a long time. But I love this plant because it really took on, oh my gosh, the water's gonna spill. Okay, so I'll put in a photo of spider bess. It has really spidery veins, hence spider bess. It's really wide, it's really round. I really think it took on a lot of the spider in the spider bess, and it also takes on the color. So when the new leaves expand, it's not quite there yet. When it gets a little bit bigger, it's going to have a really nice purpley shift the way a lot of Bessier afts do. But I guess maybe over time it might have more of a wide V-shaped sinus. I think this plant is so beautiful. I've just been leaving it alone and letting it just stew over its own feelings, like not be bothered. I just water it when it needs to, but it also doesn't really need water very often. But I can see healthy roots in there. But I'm also assuming there's like some root rot living in there as well. I mean, I guess if it's rotten, it's not living, but coexisting with the healthy roots. But as long as it's growing, I'm just not going to touch it. But if this leaf ends up looking like this, it's probably time to repot it. Okay, I think it's time to turn the camera around because I'm getting tired of taking plants out and putting them back in. Okay, starting off from the first plant that I couldn't bring out. This is my Dark Phoenix. She's, I just remembered that I broke that inflow. This plant and its inflows have honestly been cursed. So I've, in total, now, as of today, broken 3 inflows on this plant. The first 2, they were growing really tall. So it'd grow into the ceiling and then just snap itself. Like it would just basically grow and grow and grow. And after enough pressure builds, it just explodes. So this one, I had tied it, you can see, it's been tied to this so that it would kind of grow diagonally up. And so it was kind of poking out this way when I grabbed that Diabloense. Apparently I don't know, it kind of exploded too. Like, I don't think I put that much pressure on it. I mean, I'm just telling myself that. Luckily, I've been able to use the pollen ones, but I really wanted to use this as mom once. And then, as you can see, it's really, really rooted in there. I definitely think it's due for a repot. Look at all that stem. Look at all those roots. I think it can definitely take a chop or two. But I wanted to keep it intact, use it as a mom once, but it's going to be a little while. There's a new leaf coming in. It's really hard to show you, but that's the new leaf. So it's going to flower again soon, but it definitely needs to be repot or chopped or something because this leaf is way smaller than the previous one. This one is, I mean, it's hard to show you, but this one is definitely bigger than this one. I kind of have a feeling that this leaf is not going to be that big either. It's kind of crazy how thick the peduncle is on this info that snapped compared to the petioles of the leaf. Look at the difference in thickness. It's crazy. But this one, it just really snapped like asparagus. And then the plant in the middle shelf that I couldn't move is my Carla Blackier Will One Self. Look at this beautiful new leaf. This thing grows nonstop. And it's also quite veiny. Like with every leaf, it just gets veinier and veinier. And every leaf looks pretty different, I want to say. Like this one is definitely the whitest one. Let me just back up a little bit so you can see. But this is the reason why I couldn't move it, because it's in pollen right now. I think it just started producing pollen yesterday, and I kind of like tried to move it yesterday and some pollen dusted off. So I really just don't want to touch it because I'm trying to use this pollen ideally for 2 plants. 1 plant for sure, but 2 if I can get enough off of it. Carla inflows honestly are so pretty. Like the spathe is so flower-like. You know, it's like that flower petal feeling, and it's so big. It kind of just like cups the spadix like a little frame. It's so pretty and has the like baby pink striation. This one was recently repotted, but this one is Ace of Purple crossed with Papillolamnum. This was bred by Tyler or Russo Plants. This is the newest leaf. The veins are kind of reddish. I am so uncomfortable with the camera like this. I'm trying to like, my arms are coming around the camera. And I feel like my mouth is so close to the mic. This one is Carla Blackier crossed with Luxurians. This one is from Amanda, but I think Paul, Understory Oasis, bred it. There was some cold damage when we first got it, so that's what this is from. And I think it lost a bunch of its roots, but this one has been rooting happily in tree fern soil. The first leaf that grew in my care, honestly quite small compared to the leaf before it. But this one, I think, has really great potential. I think it's going to be really black. I've seen other specimens from this seed batch, or maybe props of this plant, and it's like so dark and it has like a kind of a purple tone, and the bumpiness is pretty flat. Like it's not super bolate, and the bolations or like the texture is just smaller. So I'm really excited to see how this one comes out. You can kind of see the venation on it. I don't even know what Amanda's mother plant looks like, but this one is very, very exciting. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a good enough stem down here that I can chop it soon when it roots out more. Okay, you know what? I can't do this like holding in front of the camera thing because it's hurting my back. So I'm just going to show you the plants in here that I can't move. And I'm going to go back to like normal show and tell mode. This is the Papillolamnum RA5 Self from Amanda. See, it's like way bigger than the other one. And I love the texture on it. It's getting a little bit light bleached, and older leaves have started to yellow a little bit because it just almost finished producing a little batch of berries. I've already harvested the majority of them. So every day I just come in here and just pull out the ones that are protruding, and I just get it into water. These are the seeds that I've harvested so far. I'm probably going to get something like 35 seeds off of it. Actually, after I finish filming, I'm going to get these potted up. So these are going to be split with Charmaine. Well, the mother plant is mine, but we co-own the pollen parent. So I'm going to split these with her. So I'm just going to divide what I have and put them into tree fern fiber. And for those remaining ones, I'll just like divide again once it's done, because this has been in water for like a few days now. I've been changing the water every day, but I think it would just start germinating faster once it's in substrate. And then the last plant I cannot bring out is this one. This one is Tofu, Jing's plant. So it's producing berries right now as well. You can kind of see the green protruding out of the infructescence. This one was pollinated with King of Spades. Someone did say that it reminds them a lot of King of Spades, and I can see like the very kind of spidery looking veins. The way that it has spidery veins is kind of roundish, but also previous leaves on this plant were quite narrow and quite tall. It kind of has a red sinus. The veins are very spidery, and they just come out like the lateral veins come out pretty horizontally. So I kind of see the King of Spades, but if you look at the inflow, it looks like a Magnificum, Crystallinum, Forgetii inflow. Like it looks pretty standard. But the King of Spades inflow is so red. It's like red, red, red everywhere. But anyway, Tofu has great veins. Tofu also has great like bumpy texture, and also a similarity with King of Spades. Really not that fertile. I think I'm going to get like 5 berries off of it. So obviously me and Jing are going to split those seeds, and I'm really excited to see what they look like. I really hope that those berries like completely fully form, because I think this will be a very interesting batch. And it's got a new leaf coming out, and it's very, very red. The emergent leaves on Tofu are so pretty, and it's growing in pond with a moss top dressing. Okay, this one of my all-time favorites is Carla Blackier Wu 2 Self. Look at that new leaf. This one honestly has a pinker sinus than my Wu 1. It has also, like my Wu 1, being growing really easily. Like it's just been a walk in the park. This one literally just hardened off. You can see the petiole. This one, oh, no you can't. I don't know if I can get it to focus. It's getting quite swollen here, so it's going to be a new leaf emerging quite soon. I'm debating chopping it like now, or should I wait for the next leaf? Because I have to chop it for a trade. The Wu 1 is a little bit behind because I need to collect the pollen, and then I'll probably have to wait for that new leaf to harden off, and then I'll chop it. So maybe I'll wait. I don't know. I haven't decided, but this chop just needs to happen at some point because the roots are starting to fill out the pot. And the funny thing is, the Wu 1 mother plant is more narrow. Wu 2 is more of a round Carla Blackier, and my Wu 2 has consistently been more narrow than my Wu 1. But then also my Wu 1 got really wide after it got big, so this can completely change once it grows a few more leaves. This one is Anthurium Midnight Velvet from my friend Owen. This one was the last leaf that you guys saw, but this leaf I'm excited to show you because it's just emerged. Look at how purple those veins are. I'm trying not to get the glare from my light, but it looks super purple. This one, honestly, he was telling me some people were having a really hard time with it, but this one has been just like any other Anthurium for me. I kind of thought that maybe this leaf was getting bleached, because you can see it was like a little bit chlorotic between the veins, but I think possibly maybe it was just a little hungry because it didn't have a lot of roots yet, but it started to root out its own root system. So it previously only had roots from the mother stem, but now it's got its own roots here. And I'm keeping this one just like a little bit wetter than other anthuriums because that's what he told me was ideal for this plant. That's what he was doing to keep it happy. But it's also in tree fern, so I'm just keeping a little bit more of a reservoir because there is leca at the bottom as usual. And it just seems really happy. Okay, this one is a plant that I would love to get Carla pollen on. This one is Mag Chris or Magnificum crystallinum crossed with Carla Blackier. This is one of Amanda's hybrids. It's beautiful. It's got such a good mix between the Mag Chris and the Carla Blackier. Actually, I'll see if I can find a photo. This is a photo of Amanda's Mag Chris. It's got the most insane colors. The veins on it also are like very angular, like they're very claw-like, and just looks kind of angry, and I love it so much. I don't think she's ever chopped it, and I think this plant is currently producing berries, and I think they're selflings. I might be wrong, but I think they're selflings, which is very exciting for the whole world to have more selflings of her Mag Chris. Anyways, this plant is amazing. I got it as a little seedling. This is like maybe the first box of plants that we ever did a tortilla slap with, and I've struggled with it on and off, but this one is finally happy. Like the roots are super full. It is flowering. It's got that beautiful baby pink Carla spathe, which I think with the hybrids tend to be a little bit smaller than like a pure Carla spathe. It doesn't have that big like showy spathe. But yeah, it's just emerging now, and I would love to get Carla pollen on it. I think it would be beautiful. She showed me her hybrid of this plant. So her specimen of her Mag Chris Carla crossed again with Carla, and they're beautiful. They're so veiny. They're so round. I think it's going to be a good one, so I will do my best to get pollen on it. It's got a new leaf emerging as well. So while that is happening, I'm never letting this thing dry out. It's got a leaf to support. It's got an inflow to support. Like some of my plants, when it starts to flower for the first time especially, leaves start to get a little bit crispy on the sides. I mean, if I do pollinate it, I feel like it's going to go crispy no matter what. But that is the plan for this plant. Another plant from Amanda. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for her, my Anthurium collection would be like a quarter of the size. This is Red Crystallinum from NSC Tropicals that she's had for so many years. I don't have the best luck growing it. I definitely have more trouble with it than she has with her mother plant, but it just put out a new leaf and it does look quite promising. It's got 2 lobes and a leaf tip. Everything is there. Just hope that it expands okay. And I'm gonna make sure I give it a wide berth so it doesn't bump into anything, doesn't cause any damage. Like this is the kind of thing that I kept getting on the leaves, like the points. It will have like a little bit of a pinch point, so like maybe one part of the leaf doesn't quite expand and it'll just rip itself, and everything around it, all the tissue around it will get crispy. So it doesn't need water right now, but the next watering I give it, it's gonna be CalMag water. But this one has the most beautiful colors. It's everything I ever wanted in a red crystallinum. So as soon as it starts to grow like fully formed leaves that hold onto its shape, it's over. I'm pretty sure this leaf is going to have insane colors too. When it's younger, it has more reds, but as it gets more mature, it will get more purples. So I'll definitely update you guys once it's fully expanded. I won't spend too much time on this one either because I showed it pretty recently. This one is Anthurium X1 crossed with X1. It's a space hijau plant. If you don't know him, give him a follow. He's got some great Indonesian hybrids. This one was a little prop that I got from Jing, but it's like really quickly growing. This leaf just hardened off and we got a new leaf emerging. Do you see it? Right there. Like Dark Phoenix, it also has like a reddish back. It's very bumpy, but the lobes aren't quite as pointy. Like in general, they're just a little bit rounder on the top, but hopefully it would be nice if it gets really tall, but I just don't think that X1s get really, really tall bunny lobes like Dark Phoenix. Okay, so this is the other plant I was talking about earlier that I can't get nice leaves to stay forever. I feel like this is a common problem with BVEPs. So this is Anthurium BVEP, Antilacii, BVEP. This one is one of 2 that I have, and this one was from Amanda, but this was originally from Paul or Understory Oasis. And the leaves eventually all get a little orangey, yellowy margin. This one has been hardened off for maybe like a month now, and it's starting to do that. I do think that BVEPs tend to do better in lower light to stay like quite dark, because this one can be very black. And even when I see like really nice, I'm not going to name any names, not that I'm like, saying anything bad about them, but I see really prominent growers that breed BVEP, and they'll have like a tray of them, for example, and I'll see like a mother plant in the background. They all have this stuff. A lot of them will have brown crisp like this. This is pretty bad. Maybe not as bad as this, but this is pretty common to see. And I don't know if anyone's like really cracked the code on it. Is it light? Is it feed? Did they not take feed very well? I'm not really sure. Right now I'm just treating it like I do all my other anthuriums, feed every watering, but I try to give this one less light. So it hasn't been that long, but I just pushed it like all the way into the corner of my tent where it'll get the lowest amount of light possible. And it hasn't pushed out a leaf since. But this one, over time, will get that mud splat sinus, and I love that. Of the two BVEPs that I have, this one's definitely my preferred one. It definitely has a darker color, has more of a bumpy texture. The other one, okay, you're going to see it later, but it looks really sad right now. It's just kind of pale. I only very recently got it into lower light. So this one has been growing better than the other one. This one's not growing amazingly, but I love it to bits. I'm just waiting for that magic sauce recipe to keep older leaves from browning, from yellowing. This one's a little prop, a little two-headed prop. I got this not too long ago from Charmaine, but this was originally from Woohoo Tropicals. This one is Ace of Spades crossed with Carla Blackier. It's looking a little pale right now because it's growing in a humidity dome. Just right here, it's under very strong grow lights. It was looking super chlorotic, and I moved it into my tent. The very chlorotic veins have started to like kind of tone down a little bit. It's getting a little bit darker, but I'm pretty sure it's never gonna go dark. So I'm just gonna wait for the next leaves to come in, but these are two separate growth points. So I'll have two little plants soon. I would like to separate them as soon as possible. So once they each have their own root system, I want to separate them so they're not really competing for nutrients. But I don't really know what this one's meant to look like, because Charmaine has the mother plant and it grew really big, but she was dealing with like these very nasty looking fungal spots that we attributed to growing in coco coir. So she's gotten that plant out of coir, but I don't think it's grown another leaf since. So we're waiting for that, but I just don't really know what to expect with this plant. I just know that I really wanted an Ace Carla. I've seen Amanda's Ace Carlas. I think she didn't do that hybrid. Who did that hybrid? I don't remember. Maybe it was Juan. I'm not really sure, but she had a few. She's been propagating from it, and they're beautiful. Like they have these pink veins like Carla Blackier, but it's just veinier. I don't know. I can't really describe it that well. My brain is kind of mushy right now. I'm just very excited for this one to grow big. I'm filming this section after my little break. It's been over an hour. Okay, this is unsure. This one is from Amanda. This one came with some cold damage. So this is leaf with cold damage. And has it rooted yet? Not yet. It's possibly a mag self or a mag hybrid self, or yeah, I don't really know. She said to wait for the next leaf. And funnily enough, it has two leaves coming in. I don't really know why, but it had a leaf that came in where the leaf never formed, and you can kind of see the stump of the petiole here, right here. The leaf just kind of shriveled off and died, and then two leaves just popped out. So we'll see what those look like. I can't really say much about this because I don't even know what it is, and I haven't even had a leaf fully form in my care, so we shall see. This one is Anthurium Carla Blackier crossed with Black Widow Michelle. So this is a hybrid from Buzz Plants. We ordered from him a few months ago, and I ordered two of these. One of them just did not make it. It just died. I can't really even tell you the reason why I didn't make it, but by the time it got to me, so it got shipped to Charmaine in California, and then she brought it back up to me. By the time it got back up to me, it was like root rot setting in, it was yellowing, it was really like curled up. I think it got dehydrated and then never recovered. So that thing is long in the afterlife, but the one that survived is so cute, and I think it has really great potential to turn out exactly what I was hoping for. So I wasn't even really buying this for the Carla part. I was buying it for the Black Widow Michelle part. So this is his mother plant, and it has the most beautiful spidery veins. So if anyone doesn't know, Doc Block got a lot of his like original mother plants from Tim Anderson, the late Tim Anderson. Wonder Boy is his red crystallinum. So he used Wonder Boy as like the mother plant to breed a lot of what we now know as like Zara, Michelle, etc., etc. So one Tim Anderson plant is Stripey. This is Stripey, and I want a Stripey so bad. It's way too expensive, way too scarce. I don't think I'll ever have a Stripey. I love Stripey so much. It has a really pretty, like, the venation aside, it's got a really pretty gray toned leaf kind of, but it's dark, you know, dark gray. So anyways, Doc Block's Black Widow was bred from Stripey. So the stripiness of Stripey is very recessive. So a very small number of offspring have that stripy appearance. So Black Widow Michelle, very, very few specimens within that look like Stripey, look like this one. So Brendan so happens to have a very stripy Black Widow Michelle. And so I really wanted a hybrid that looked a lot like his Black Widow Michelle. So when he gave us a picture of like his seedlings to pick from, so just like circle which ones you want, I was like just zooming in looking for ones because they were quite young, so it's still a gamble, but I was looking for ones with the skinniest veins. So this was the leaf that grew in my care. So this one, it wasn't even there, but it was like this. So I was like, that looks really skinny. Maybe that one has potential. And this leaf grew out and I was like, okay, that's really, really skinny veins, kind of spidery. And this leaf grew out and I think we're still on the right path. Will it look like Stripey? I don't know, but at the very least, it's probably going to have really thin veins, which is really great for me. I would love for it to get really round like the Black Widow Michelle. That would be perfection. But if it ends up more of like an elongated heart shape, that's okay too. It's gonna be really cute. I took a gamble. We'll see how it goes. But this is fast becoming one of my favorite plants, and I'm just babying it so that it'll grow fast as quickly as possible. Brendan also sells on Palm Street. He sells, okay, so he has his own account that he sells on. He's done purges. I don't think he's like a live sale type of guy. So he does do purges and he sells his plants through other sellers, primarily through Rooted Rarities, which is located in Florida, and Brendan's located in California. If you're like local to him, I feel like you're really lucky. Also, I think there's some amazing sellers in California. So if you're in California, you probably have like the pick of the cream of the crop. A lot of these left now are just like very small little baby plants. This one is also super exciting. This one is Forgetii crossed with Carla Blackier. It came from Amanda, but she did not breed it. She had one of these plants, and then I asked her for some plants for Charmaine for her birthday. So she was like showing me, I was like, let's do like a little Carla hybrid tasting flight because Charmaine at that time had no Carla hybrids whatsoever. She has since then gotten a few more. I don't think, no, she doesn't have a pure Carla yet. So anyway, I got her Forgetii Carla and I got her Carla Bevep. I mean, really, Amanda got it for her. I paid Amanda like a stupidly low amount of money. Like she would not accept a lot of money because she wanted to contribute to Charmaine's birthday gift. But this is one of them. This is what the plant looks like. It's so pretty. It's got the half fused sinus. It's got the Carla venation, but it's round like Forgetii. The veins on this already look very Carla-esque, like especially look at the sinus. This one also originally came to me in like coir mix. I got it out of the coir mix. It's been growing so much faster since getting into tree fern soil without coir. I've made the executive decision that I'm not going to show you stumps because this video is getting obscenely long and who wants to see a stump? This one is Fort Sherman Ralph Linum crossed with Dressleri Carla. I got this as a Christmas gift from my friend Jose and it was like a seedling just germinated. Like it's the first emergent leaf. It hadn't even fully expanded yet and it's grown this much in my care. And I've shown it kind of recently, but I wanted to show you like how the blister variegation hardened off. I'm quite excited that I got a blister variegated specimen because in general, overall, the whole leaf looks a little bit warped. It has like no lobes. It's really, really bumpy. I mean, I don't think that's to do with the blister variegation. It's super elongated and it's like, I've gotten it under lower light, so it's starting to grow a little darker and it hasn't really been fussy at all. So I'm curious to see how that blister variegation continues. Hopefully it's not so much that it just like overtakes the plant. But this is kind of like why it's so fun to grow from seed, like just growing from germinated seed. I don't think it's for everybody and it is a gamble, but like sometimes the surprise is part of the fun. This one, oh, This is not water. This is nectar or like stigmatic fluid from an inflow above it. It's probably like tofu is super receptive right now. There's a second inflow on there and it's just like dripping. It just dripped all over this plant. Great. Okay, so this is Red Crystal crossed with Portier from Amanda's. It's her hybrid. And this is a prop from Charmaine's plant. So we each have one from the different specimens within the same seed batch. So Charmaine and I kind of agree that her specimen is like much cuter than mine. It's a very cute, like love heart shape. The veins are a little bit more spidery, a little bit more wispy. So this is a prop from hers. I think it probably could be upsized fairly soon, provided I sell more plants and I get more space in my tent. So this is really exciting because we've crossed Charmaine's mother plant with my King of Spades. So Red Crystal Port crossed with King of Spades. I have really high hopes for this. I think it's gonna have like very wispy, spidery veins. I hope it has a lot of red. I hope it gets the roundness from the King of Spades. I don't know. We don't really know what they expect. And the really funny thing is like the infructescence is such an interesting color because the inflow is reddish, but the infructescence, I called it Arizona beige because I don't know how else to describe it. This is what it looks like. I've never seen an infructescence look like that. It's like this beige color with like a pinky tone. Charmaine called it like sad beige mom aesthetic. Like yeah, it's like a very cool one. There's so much about that is really exciting. Okay, next plant is a sad red crystallinum. This one is a Zara F2 crossed with Michelle F3. I don't know who the breeder is, but this thing is so unhealthy. It kind of looks like it's getting eaten by thrips. But I know this one doesn't have thrips, but this one is not the one. It's not the one. I got it from my friend Anna. I love you, Anna. She knew that this one wasn't like the strongest of seedlings, but she gifted it to me. And I'm grateful for it. I have been enjoying growing it. I've been enjoying the challenge of trying to see if I can like cure it. And so far I haven't been successful. And I've heard that other people locally who got seedlings from the same seed batch kind of have the same experience as me. The sun is like, it's here and then it's not, it's here, it's not. The lighting's probably going really, really crazy, but yeah, nothing much to report on this one. It's still kind of growing the same as always. Okay, this one is Dark Phoenix Self from Jing's seed batch. It's so cute. It looks like bread, green bread. It has been growing faster since I upsized the pot. It's filled out this. It was in a cup smaller than this, way smaller than this, but I put it into a much bigger pot. It's filled it out nicely. For some reason, this leaf was not an upsize from this leaf. This is older. This is the newest one, but it's got a new one emerging right now. But yeah, I'm very grateful that I got like one very, what seemingly robust seedling. Okay, this plant desperately needs a repot. Oh my gosh. This one is Anthurium Carib Queen. So this is a J. Vanini hybrid of Dressleri and Rugulosum. This is the newest leaf. It really does look like Rugulosum. Like at a glance, it's like that's Rugulosum, but it does have the venation kind of. If you just take away the pebbles, it's kind of like Dressleri venation, Dressleri shape. It's got a bit more velvet. It's not totally glossy. And I really love this plant. It is growing at the back. This leaf, I'm just going to remove this yellow leaf. It's quite an easygoing one in my experience, but I've also never grown it in ambient conditions. But this one definitely should go into a bigger pot. It started flowering. I think it's still somewhat receptive, but I'm pretty sure Carib Queen is sterile because Rugulosum and Dressleri, different sections, and oftentimes when you have this intersectional cross, it's often hard to achieve in the first place, but once you create that cross, it's maybe not totally sterile, but considered sterile. I asked her yesterday if Carib Queen was sterile. She said she thinks so. Like she has a friend who put pollen on hers. It went all the way to berry formation. She harvested them empty. In my mind, I wanted to put like dark forgetii on it. So like dark and velvety with like somewhat sub-velvety and not dark. And I want to get the pebbles from this and maybe like the Dressleri venation with like dark velvet. I'm going to go look for pollen after I finish filming, But if you never hear from me again about this, it's because it didn't work. I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. Tree rinse soil, it's kind of, it's not really dry, but I think I've dried it out a couple of times. And at the very least, I'm going to just top up this soil a little bit. Just fill up the pot because there's a lot of roots in here that don't know where to go. And the newest leaf is slightly a downsize to the leaf before it. And I also feel like this is growing in higher light than it probably wants to be, but this is literally the only place that would fit because it's getting kind of tall. So anyways, still love this plant. It's just like a beautiful sub-velvet kind of glittery texture. Look at that. What a wonderful cross. Okay, brief pause. I'm going to put some plants away and then I'm going to show you some of my EXO ones. Okay, so these next ones are in my little EXO in the corner, which I'm probably going to get rid of at some point. It is lower light. It has a mother plant spectrum 16 on top, but it's like taller. There's more space between the light and the plants. So I've been putting stuff in there that needs a little bit more humidity because that EXO is sealed on top. So I have a glass thing on top. It is quite humid. There's always condensation on the glass. So I put stuff in there that maybe wants less light, maybe needs more humidity. So the BVEP, my second BVEP, I recently, like maybe less than a week ago, put it in there just to get it away from the light because you can see how bleached it is. It was growing near to the top of my tent. It was just getting blasted with grow lights and it obviously didn't like it. You can see the leaves are kind of trying to get away from the light a little bit. This looks like total poo-poo caca. And I'm pretty sure it's like a light thing because the roots look fantastic. It even kind of looks like it's about to flower. Oop, it's not focusing here. It's really swollen here. It has the unmistakable look of something trying to push out. Whether it fully emerges remains to be seen, but I just got it in there because I wanted it to have way less light than I could ever give it in this tent. This tent is super bright. I will keep you guys posted. I really want to save this plant, like save it, make it look I just want to beautify it. I feel like we're moving in the right direction. This next one's really new. I haven't even shown you guys this. This is a little King of Spades selfling that I got from Lauren. I got this like, I don't know, a week ago, something like that, maybe less than 2 weeks ago. I potted it up in my tree fern mix. It's been rooting somewhat decently. I just wanted a second King of Spades. King of Spades grow so slow. I just wanted more. I wanted something that looks a little bit different. This one could end up looking quite similar, could look totally different, but this one has a cute little wide sinus. I mean, it's way wider on top than it is on the bottom. My original one is quite a classic heart shape. And right now the veins look very like clean and neat and thin, but that can change so much as a King of Spades sizes up. So right now, no idea what it's going to look like. I put it in there because it's kind of like a newish import. And also it doesn't have a ton of roots and I want it to grow it nice and dark. So it's in there right now. I'm quite excited for this. This next one, I was so excited to get. I've been after this plant for years. This came from my friend Erin, or Unruly Botany. She's not really into plants anymore. She's more into horses, but she was getting rid of a lot of her collection. She dismantled her whole grow tent and she was just like, I need somewhere for these to go. I actually wanted this plant a year before and like we were supposed to meet up. It just never happened. So eventually we got the plant and this is like a little stump cutting that I've been growing out. This is a dark forgetti, but it's like nicer than my dark forgetti. I've yet to find a dark forgetti that has like no silver whatsoever. So this one has the tiniest amount of silver. It is bleached. This was growing in my prop box. Didn't really need to be growing in my prop box, but it was really close to grow lights and it was getting bleached. So I moved it into that like lower light EXO. It just seems to be really happy. It went from a coir mix to a tree fern, like my tree fern mix without coir, and it's been rooting so much better. When I got it out of the coir, the roots were pretty fried, but I'm really excited for this one to get as big as that one. I'll put in a photo here of the plant when it first came to us from Erin. Erin grew this thing so beautifully. It was so dark. It's so bumpy. It's the perfect specimen. So very grateful to finally have it. It's actually grown quite a bit more since you guys last saw it. I think when you last saw it, maybe it was just like these leaves here, but it's starting to size up. But imagine if this wasn't bleached, how cute would it be? And this one, I completely forgot that I repotted this plant yesterday. This is Subsignatum crossed with Papillolamnum from Amanda. Again, I don't think this is her cross, but it's a beautiful one. I think Tyler or Russo Plants also has this. He's been hybridizing with it and it makes really cool babies. So I'm actually like, that was part of the reason why I repotted it. I wanted to just, because there was so much stem above the substrate, I wanted to root it out more. I wanted it to start flowering, so I could cross like anything, really, anything. What could I cross it with? Like a pap? Like get it really wide. I don't know. It's like a very interesting parent to cross with because it's not pure subsignatum. It's half pappy, so it's not fully glossy. But yeah, I've shown this pretty recently. Love this plant. Don't give it a ton of attention, but it's like a fairly easygoing one. And with every leaf that grows, I love it more and more. The wider the sinus becomes, the cooler it becomes. This is my one woohoo plant that is not doing so well and it's completely my fault. I don't know what I did. I must have let it dry out completely. Oh my gosh, this sun. Okay, let's keep moving. So I think I let it completely dry out. When I pull it out, all the roots are rotten. So naturally I potted it in a huge pot. I don't really know what was going through my head, but it hasn't declined further. It must not have rotted all of its roots. Otherwise I wouldn't put it in so big of a pot. But in saying that, I don't see any roots on the side. The leaves are firm. There's water in there. It's getting water somehow. So I'll just keep monitoring it. But this is the one woohoo plant that hasn't been doing so well in my care. So this is what happens when your plant is declining, right? If it's got root rot or something, like the newest leaf will not fully expand. So this is as far as it got, and this is fully hardened now. So this one is rehabbing in that exo there. This is another woohoo tropicals plant. This is Anthurium windlingeri. It has been sizing up like a dream. Look at this new leaf. When we first got it, I think this was the biggest leaf right here. So it's grown like 5 leaves in my care. And this new one is like a nice size jump to the one before it, which would have been this one here. But yeah, Wendleys, they grow like a dream. They're so easygoing. They're great for ambient conditions. And I love this plant. I don't know if it's going to show up in this weird light, but the dimples are starting to form. It is a little bit more soft than my original Wendy, which you're not going to see in this video because it's growing in ambient conditions. But this one is growing so easily. This one is a Hoff X or Indo dress crossed with red crystallinum. Look at this new leaf. This little loop-de-loop that it did is so cute. So the mother plant is Charmaine's Hoff X, which I actually have right now. I've brought it home. I repotted it. I gave it new soil. I chopped the old leaves off. I'm just gonna like keep it here until she's ready to take it back. But the pull-in parent is Tazula red crystallinum. And I think I got a really cute one because personally I wanted lots of silver. I picked it when it was like a 2-leaf seedling before it was showing any silver. So I feel like I got kind of lucky because it's a very, very silver specimen. It's really round on top. Look at this leaf, super round on top. But this new leaf has been so fun to look at because of this little scribble right here. This is one of the few plants I'm growing in pond. This is Anthurium bastard. So this is Amanda's hybrid. I don't remember the story behind why it's called bastard, but this is possibly a Mag Forgetii hybrid. I mean, it checks out, right? This is the biggest leaf I've ever grown. But previous leaves would do this like, the sinus wouldn't be fully fused and it would just do this almost overlapping thing. But this newest leaf is almost fully fused. It's growing in pond and I let this thing dry out all the time and it doesn't seem to get super mad, which probably means it's just used to it by now. Next exo over, this one in the corner here. This one is Anthurium SP Silver Peru. I got this from my friend Jessie. This one came to me in leca, and then I repotted it into no drainage, leca at the bottom and tree fern soil on top, but it seems very heavy on the tree fern. It was not very happy. I think he was having trouble with it, and I think he just never really thought to put it into soil. The first leaf that grew my care, it just got completely annihilated on the way out of the sheath, so it just ripped. And this is all that formed. But the next leaf after that formed perfectly. And it's like very silver. I've heard that like Luxurians Platinum or Luxurians Silver, older or like more mature leaves will lose that silver. But this is like the most silver leaf that this plant has ever grown. It also has like a very square petiole like luxurians. I have another plant that was sold at SV Silver Peru. It's downstairs, so you're not going to see it in this video. It looks like a completely different plant. It's like really tall lobes, it's really dark green, has a red sinus. But this leaf has been so satisfying to look at because of how silvery it is, and those lobes, it's so pretty. And it has like the exact shape of a luxurians. It must be related somehow. This looks to me, in my mind, like a luxurians and a debule, like mixed together. This one is Anthurium minahasa that I got from Cartel Daun. This one was moved from pond to tree fern soil. Freaking loved it. It pushed out this leaf after being moved and after I chopped it as well. And then it's starting to flower. So here's the caterpillar where the leaf would come out of, and here is where the flower seemingly is having trouble emerging because it's supposed to come out here, but it's starting to like emerge. I think I might have to do a bit of surgery on here, but it's getting a little bit scrunched trying to emerge from here. So this one is finally flowering. I love this plant. It's such a good crystalline type thing. Oh, the weird light is back. I think in sulfing this must be like a pretty complex hybrid, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't produce plants that look just like this. Maybe not across the board, maybe you'll get a few, I don't really know, but I know that in the past, Cartel used to only sell this by cutting. So that tells me that selflings don't quite look like this. This one is from Woohoo Tropicals. This one is Nigrolaminum GG crossed with Portier. I think this is Dorito Port as the pollen parent. I'm not 100% sure, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. This one has been such a good grower for me. The only problem I will say is that the newest emergent leaves must be very, very papery delicate because they always rip. You see that? This one ripped as well. And this one ripped as well. And this one did that thing where like the sides of it get dinged a little bit, so it kind of looks like it's like a mirror image, you know? This one miraculously emerged without any incident, but the newest leaves have like a beautiful apple red color. Oh my gosh, imagine feeling it. It does feel thinner, like more delicate than the average Anthurium leaf. It did flower. Oh look guys, it's receptive. This little thing is receptive. Anyways, it grows in that exo now. It used to grow in my tent, but this thing is like way too tall. And it also gets burned pretty easily. So with this height, it was impossible to not burn it inside my grow tent. So it's living in the exo now. Maybe this would be really cute to cross with the Subsignatum pappy. Never really thought about it. First, it has to grow an inflow bigger than that though. This one, oh, it's got a new leaf. This one is Nigrolaminum GG. I bought this because of its like wider triangular shaped leaves. It's not as like bunny lobed as other GGs. It used to grow in pond and it was just like, I think it was just drying out too often. I rarely water that exo just because, actually I made it better now. There used to be a big mag leaf right here and there was an obstacle to get to that exo, so I just like never watered it, but now I cut that leaf off so I can access things better. So this one has been way happier ever since getting into tree fern soil because it doesn't dry out as much. It's more consistent moisture. It's been growing more steadily. This leaf looks like it's gonna be really loby and very promising. But this is the only GG I have left now. I used to have a different one that had more of like the vertical like lobes that kind of go straight up, a little bit taller, but I just like this shape a little bit more. Okay, it looks really sad right now. We'll get better, I'm sure. This is my Rockwayneum dark narrow form. This used to be a two-headed plant, so I separated the other two, had its own full root system, and I sold it. So I'm just like left with this one now, and I'm just gonna grow it in that exo. I'm pretty sure it could grow in ambient conditions, and I used to let this thing dry out all the time, like bone dry, which with as far as queens go, you just never ever want to do that. It will definitely show up like this with queens way more dramatically than other things. So this is one of the ones that I would keep a reservoir on in soil. So this one has pond as a reservoir for some reason. If I leave a reservoir on it, this will be happily growing. It just kind of wants constant moisture. Like I would say that's true of anthuriums, at least the ones I'm growing in general, but even more important for the queen. Okay, what is this? Is this better? Okay, this might be a little bit better. I have just a few left. I've made the executive decision that I'm not going to show you my humidity domes and like everything that's inside. It's a lot of propagation, nothing super exciting. So I just pulled the 2 plants that are worth showing. These 2 are Carlas, so these are my 3rd and 4th Carlas. Okay, I'll show you this one first. This is Carla Blackier RAA8 Self. So this one is from Brendan or Buzz Plants. The reason why I have this, I didn't order it, but the reason why I have it is because the first order we got, we ordered a couple of those Carla Black Widow Michelle hybrids. We ordered 3 plus a Carla. When the box got to Charmaine, there was no Carla. So I was like, oh, we're missing a Carla. So he sent us a second box, and just like, as you know, sorry, he sent a bonus Carla, which is so generous. So this is the bonus Carla. It was like a whole stressful thing because like it was going to a PO box, like we had to coordinate crossing the border, so it wasn't as simple as just like, oh yeah, send me another box to my home, right? So I felt really bad, so I was like, can you overnight it? I had to pay extra shipping. So it all worked out in the end. And this one was really, you can still see it on the original leaves. They were like taquitos when it first came. It was in moss that was kind of on the drier side, but it recovered like a champ. You can see a little root down here. It's in tree fern soil now. I really took a risk and I just repotted it into tree fern soil right away, but it's sizing up compared to like what I first had, which is this to this. I'm so grateful just to have this plant. First of all, I really like RA8. RA8 I think is really beautiful, but that it's sizing up and it's doing really well. The other one I also ordered off Palm Street. So this one is from Lauderdale Aroid House in Fort Lauderdale. Justin Hart sells plants for Rory Antilac. So this is a 2 Carlas crossed together from Rory. So this is Carla 1 crossed with Carla 16. It came to me with 2 leaves. The lower down leaf was yellowing, so that one has died. This is the newest leaf. When I first got it, it has since grown another. It just emerged, so it's still really teeny tiny. You can see a little root right here extending into the substrate. This one is also doing really well. This would be kind of boat mode because it is like it was at the time a 2-leaf seedling. And I think this is quite big for that. I mean, real true boat mode would be like a 4-inch pot, but I went for the bigger pot for this, but not much to show right now, but I'm very excited for these 2. If you want to get Rory plants, Justin is the one to get it from. And they go live pretty often, I think. And they pack, Janina is Justin's wife. She packs like a mother. There's no way any of those plants are moving. I've never seen packaging like that. It is so secure. So you just know that your plants are in good hands when you order stuff with them. Last thing I want to show you. I didn't want to show you every seedling I have growing, but this one was pretty exciting. So this one is a hybrid I did with Charmaine. So the mother plant was Charmaine's Anthurium Brielle or Dock Block hybrid, which is like a very crystal hoppy, very silver plant. And the Poland parent was my Crystal Black, which is in recovery right now. Hopefully by the time I film next week for the ambient part 2 of this collection video, it will have expanded. It just hasn't grown nicely for me for a really long time, but I think we're on the up and up. Anyways, the idea was to make very silvery, very dark plants because Brielle is very dark and Crystal Black is obviously very dark, hence the Crystal Black. They have grown first leaves. Some of them are onto the second leaves, and I'm so excited to see what these are going to look like because I'm a little impressed that the first leaf already is showing silver. Every little leaf in here is showing silver to some level. There are a couple of variegated ones in here. They just don't look as healthy. So this one, I'm pretty sure will focus, is variegated. It's very subtle. It's very hard to see, but just like the way that it's warped as well, you can kind of see that it is somewhat mutated. There's this one that looks like it's gonna die. This one, it looks like it has variegated margins. Possibly this one might be like kind of somewhat mutated, but it's so hard to tell on the first leaf. So I just want to show you guys these because this is all I have of this batch. So I definitely want to grow these out a little bit more before we sell any because I want to see which one I want to keep. But that is it for the plants for this video. My poor Dark Phoenix inflow. This was just laying on the ground, and as I'm like shuffling around the room, like crawling on my knees, I like kneed this 3 times. Look at it. and it really did explode like asparagus. I was going to stick this in water to see if it would like emerge and produce pollen, but I think it's pretty safe to say it's toast. Look at that. All right, guys, this lighting is going to send me into the afterlife. That is it for today. That was a marathon that was far longer than I thought it would be. If anyone stuck around to the end, I applaud you and I thank you. Big, huge thank you once again to Palm Street for sponsoring this video. They're gonna be like, what the hell did we sponsor? Again, I will leave my Palm Street referral link in the description. There's discounts, site credits, and free shipping when you sign up. And if you made it this far, let me know. I'm thinking like days to go live will probably be like a Monday evening, Tuesday evening, but there's like a lot of time zones, you know? So what time of day would be ideal for you to do like a hangouty, repotty, plant chore type of life? I haven't nailed down a date yet. I want to see if like maybe Amanda wants to join me for one of them. But yeah, let me know. Okay, I'm really gonna go now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. I hope you have a great weekend and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!